Hi everyone, and welcome back to another video. Especially with the world we're living in, with quarantines happening one week and lockdowns taking place in another, the way we're going through traditional interviews has changed. There aren't as many in-person interviews, so a lot has changed when it comes to your next interview. Or has it? In today's video, I'll be sharing tips and advice on how to do well during your next Zoom interview. If you'd like to learn more about interviews, then I'd highly recommend you check out my interview series, where I cover the toughest or most commonly asked questions you'll encounter. Before getting into it though, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to help out the channel. Now let's get into it. So for this video, I'll share what you should be doing during your interview, followed by what you shouldn't be doing in order to prevent going back and forth between opposing ideas. So the first thing that needs to be done for these Zoom interviews is to remember that you still need to dress to impress. You won't be having that in-person aura in your favor, so the only impression you'll be making is from the shoulders and chest up. So dressing well and looking like you're ready for an interview is important. I know a common question is, well, since it's an online interview, they won't see that I'm still in my pajamas. Isn't that okay? While the likelihood of them asking you to stand up for them to check is slim, what if you were to need to stand up for a second to get something from across the room and they notice? My suggestion is to always go into interview mode. That means do what you'd normally do for a traditional interview. Would you go into an in-person interview wearing only a suit and tie with no pants? If so, you're hired because I admire your confidence. Honestly, I can't even do that. I always feel more alert and professional when I look the part, so making sure you dress well and have good visible hygiene matters. From here, the next important thing you'll need to account for is to make sure that you do have a clear background. You don't want whatever's behind you to look super busy because it can be distracting for both you and them. A little secret is that whenever I go into an interview, I'd always rearrange my room to have my desk appear behind a blank wall, kind of like this. That way, it's a little less distracting and I'm able to provide them with my undivided attention. If you're unable to find a place without a noisy background, I know Zoom has a feature where you can select the background or choose to blur your background just a little bit, so maybe those options are feasible in your case. When it comes to an online interview, do make sure that there isn't any background noise, whether that be kids playing in a room nearby or the garbage truck on trash day. To mitigate any noises like these, I'd recommend closing your door and windows and wearing headphones to prevent any other background noise from distracting you or them. This way, you're not getting distracted by that bird flying across your window or that car passing by your window as well. You can also control the lighting to be in your favor when you're having an online interview. So do make sure that the background is good to go for your next big day. The third point might be the biggest, and I don't think I can emphasize this enough. Remember that you must always hit that like button for that YouTube algorithm. But do make sure you also have good internet connection. I think they're both relatively important though. The last thing you'll want to worry about is having a spotty connection or being cut out halfway through your interview. See if you can hardwire your internet connection to your laptop or if you have a hotspot available. But if you do know that your internet connection isn't the best, tell them when you start that it may get cut out and ask if there's another way for you to reach them. Both you and them know that you aren't interviewing in the most optimal conditions and technology isn't always in our favor. So being upfront about this to prevent any problems is important for that interview. Now we transition into what you shouldn't be doing in your interview and the don'ts of a Zoom interview. The first one kind of ties into what I mentioned in the do's, and that's not getting distracted. Minimize any clutter on your desk or background to enhance your interview process. You don't want to be fidgeting with pens during your interview or tapping your desk because I'm sure they can hear that and you're also going to get annoyed. Remember that the human attention span isn't that long either, so make sure we can maximize our interview process because that is crucial. I try to avoid having too much paper on my desk. Depending on the interview, I'd have a blank piece of paper and a pen just to take notes or to solve any cases that would come up for a consulting interview. If you'd like to check out my consulting case interview series, then be sure to check out the videos that I'll link in my bio below. The next thing that you don't want to do is to be running late. You don't really have a reason because, well, it's online. An incentive behind online interviews is being able to interview from wherever you are and not needing to fly out or drive to that location. With that being said, you'll also need to account for time zone differences. What if you're in San Francisco and your interview's in New York? The last thing you'll want is to go in for an interview 3 hours late or 2 hours early because you didn't account for Pacific Standard Time or Eastern Standard Time. Always confirm the time to make sure you're always going to be on time. Actually, don't be on time. Be there 10 minutes before in the waiting room so that you're ready to go. When you plan to be somewhere on time, you'll usually end up being just a bit late, especially when you're stressed. Rather, plan on being there 10 minutes early and you'll be perfect. The last thing you don't want to be doing thing when it comes to your Zoom interviews is to just look at the screen. I know this is going to sound weird, but it's actually pretty important when you think about it. When you go into an in-person interview, are you staring at their lips or neck or into their eyes like a normal person? When you're looking at the screen, you aren't maintaining eye contact. Therefore, look into a camera on the top or the green light to make sure you've established better eye contact. It's sometimes the simple things like this that can make the biggest difference. So take this as kind of like a bonus tip and do with it as you wish. But with that being said, that wraps up what you should be and should not be doing during your Zoom interviews. There are obviously many other things that you'll also need to account for, but these were the big ones and most common things that come to mind. If you'd like me to make another video where I cover some other do's and don'ts, then be sure to just let me know in the comments below. Also, feel free to check out the other videos on this channel where I talk about preparing for interviews or the actual interview itself. Finally, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you found this video helpful. I upload videos twice a week on Mondays and Wednesdays, so be sure to subscribe to not miss out. If you're looking for more specific interview preparation or guidance, then be sure to visit my website, ryanroffey.com, and use the promo codes in my bio below for one-on-one guidance. Good luck with your interviews. Until next time.